The film The Maltese Falcon is literally the stuff dreams are made of. Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to Movie Notions. I'm trying to review one classic film a week for the entire year of 2018, and this week we are talking about The Maltese Falcon, starring Humphrey Bogart, Peter Lorre, Mary Astor, and newcomer Sidney Greenstreet. Now, The Maltese Falcon, if you don't know, is basically a story about Sam Spade. He's a private investigator, and it opens up with this woman coming in saying, "I need help. I haven't heard from my partner." And so Sam Spade sends his partner. Sam Spade sends his partner trying to find her partner. There's a lot of partners in this beginning. And as Sam Spade's partner is going through, he gets shot and dies, leading into this giant mystery of who shot him, why did he shoot him, what's this all about? And basically all of it comes back to this priceless statuette of a falcon. And while we're going through this, it's the normal, like I said, gumshoe, private eye sort of flick where is Sam Spade? Why is this so valuable? Why does this person want it? What side is this person really on? Can I trust this person? And it's back and forth the entire time. And it really keeps you on the edge of your seat for that whole time. Now, I don't want to give much more away because you can't give too much more without giving away the entire plot and exactly how it works. But basically, that's the story. That's the story. Now, the one thing you have to remember about this time is it wasn't as governed as it is today. The one thing that you'll notice if you watch this movie is there's a ton of smoking. A lot of smoking. And that comes from the fact that smoking was just accepted back then. Humphrey Bogart actually has been known, or has basically been known as the biggest smoker Hollywood's ever seen, followed closely only by John Wayne, surprisingly. But that actually got him into trouble during filming this because him and Peter Lorre not as big a smoker, but still smoker, they were on screen, and Jack Warner of Warner Brothers said, "I don't want you smoking on screen." Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, he's looking out for the health of people. No, he's not. He's looking out for the health of his wallet. He thought that subconsciously, if the audience saw smoking on screen, they would go out to the lobby and want a cigarette, and they'd miss part of the movie. And he didn't want that to happen because that fills his pocketbook. He wants people to see the movie, get there, and it was a whole money gag. So it's one of those things where the smoking thing really may bother you today, but back then you have to remember if you watch this, it was extremely acceptable. It was completely acceptable. There was smoking everywhere. I mean, today we're obviously more conscious about the health aversions of and everything of that, but back then it was accepted. So when you watch that, do know that that is a part of it. But now getting back to the actual production of the movie. Now, the Falcon is this black statuette, and it's really only in the last part. Obviously, the entire movie is trying to find it. Okay, so when it's found, you don't want to find it at the beginning of the movie because then it's just a whole problem. But for how little it was in the film, they made quite a few statuettes of this. They made actually 5 statuettes, 2 of which were actually seen on set, and the other 3 were just kept off to the side. And the reason they had to use 2 on set is during one of the takes, Humphrey Bogart actually dropped the first statuette, and it's got a dent in the feathers. You can actually see it at the Warner Brothers Museum, and you'll notice if you do see it that the feathers in the back had this little divot from where Humphrey Bogart dropped it. And obviously you can't put that on screen because people that have an eye for that are going to see that you had this one and it wasn't in this one, and they're just not, they're going to be wary of that. And it's not like they had computers that they could fix it and just pass it off like they do today. But so that's sort of what it was. Now, another thing about the production, we need to talk about Sidney Greenstreet. Now, Sidney Greenstreet, a fantastic actor. He was 60 years old when this film was made. This was his first film. He was a newcomer. Okay, and he was 357 pounds. Hence, he is called the Fat Man. Yeah, the Fat Man is the villain in this one, or the other party looking for the Falcon. So what you need to know about this is when they were making production, they're like, oh, okay, why don't you all just go and bring your own wardrobe? It was a very common practice back then in Hollywood. Humphrey Bogart supplied his own wardrobe. Mary Astor supplied most of her wardrobe. Peter Lorre, everything. Sidney Greenstreet, being a newcomer, didn't have the funds to make the suits and the fancy dress that he needed to for this movie. So the studio had to help him out a little bit, and they actually had to shut production down for 2 or 3 weeks in order to make his entire wardrobe because he was so big. They just couldn't do it, and he couldn't afford it, so they had to do all that. But they really wanted him in there because they thought he was a great talent. And after this movie, he obviously had a bunch of other starring roles like Casablanca and other things along those lines. And you really see how great of an actor he was. But at the beginning, when you don't have money, you can't buy stuff. I mean, it's that simple. If you don't have money, you can't buy stuff. Couple more things about the production of this film. Majority of the shots involving Humphrey Bogart actually occur behind their shoulder. Now, the cinematographer and the director did this on purpose because they wanted to give you the perspective of Sam Spade. This entire movie is about Sam Spade's journey to this Falcon and trying to get that Falcon and find out why people want this. Why are they killing for it? What's so big about all of this? And so they wanted to really give the audience that perspective. So a lot of times when Bogart's not talking, you'll see it over his shoulder. And it's just a very, very big... it's a very big part of this production. Now, this was not Bogart's first film, but it was his first major film that was big at the time. A lot of them became bigger afterwards, but this is the film actually that Ingrid Bergman used to study Humphrey Bogart's acting style when they did Casablanca a year later. So you could see that this was really just a big film in his history, and it's a big film in film history. It's like I probably said before, it has been on many top lists. It's always been on the top 100 of the FI when I watch it. I enjoy this movie. Even though I know what happens, I'm still intrigued. Not just by the story and the production value, but everything else that's in it. And the reaction to the actors, I mean, it looks like they're actually acting. It's not trying to hide the fact that it's fake. It's actually showing sort of a stage actor presence and how everything fits in with that. Now, this film was put up for 3 Academy Awards. It put up for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, and Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Sidney Greenstreet. It didn't win any of these, but it did get recognition in that bit. Now, a little bit about the screenplay with John Huston. If you've read the novel, you'll actually notice that this is pretty much word for word exactly what the novel was. I mean, they took maybe a couple things out here or there, but they didn't add anything. It was almost like they took the novel and a Sharpie and they erased or they crossed out what they didn't want, and then that was the screenplay they used. Best Picture, I mean, it was up for that one. But the one that really needs a little recognition, if you remember, I talked about Sidney Greenstreet. He was up for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. He was a newcomer. This was his first big film, and he getting an Academy Award nomination for that, being your first film and not having... I mean, I know it happens more often these days, but we've had 90 Academy Awards by now. Back then, it was relatively new. And it's one of those things where you have all these veteran actors, not just in starring roles, but in supporting roles. And to have a newcomer like that just get nominated, even though he didn't win, it was quite impressive for the day. The Maltese Falcon left me intrigued. Hashtag stuff dreams are made of. Hashtag original Sam Spade. Okay, guys, so that's my review of the Maltese Falcon. I'm sorry it was a little choppy here or there. I'm still fighting a little bit of a cold, and it's one of those I didn't want to cough in front of the camera. But anyway, if you're enjoying these classic films, please be sure to hit a like down below, and also comment. If there's a classic film you want me to go over and give you sort of an insight on, be sure to comment on that. I want to be a part of that. If you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. That'll help us out a lot. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless all of you. And that's a wrap.